The worst part was when I didn't have enough to eat, so I started fantasizing. But Charlie never lost that stupid fucking smile, even when he was freezing to death. I told him to grab us food for the night, and he came back with 2 pizza rolls and a can of soda to share. I asked him how he'd gotten them, and he shrugged with a grin. This kid expected me to play along with his cryptic games every time he did something vaguely helpful. I didn't care how he'd gotten them. I was just thankful. I started to see Charlie as less of a nuisance and more of a friend. Charlie was loud and obnoxious and drove me insane with his dreams of getting out of town and his situation. But he made me smile, even in freezing temperatures. He never told me about why he was on the streets. Instead, he always changed the subject back to me. I didn't realize how self-centered I was until I spilled my entire life story to him. And when he opened up about himself, I started talking about myself once again. In a way, I think I saw it like a competition. Oh, your life is bad? Well, this happened to me. I waited for him to get frustrated or angry, but he just listened. He always listened. It was snowing when the two of us sat shivering on a wall, our legs dangling. I don't remember whose genius idea it was to sit in sub-zero temperatures, but I remember enjoying the icy breeze on my face. Everything was covered in white. I don't think I should have enjoyed snow. It was extremely fucking easy to freeze to death in these conditions, but it was also snow. And I was still a stupid kid. I still liked snow. Charlie was, as usual, being his chipper self. He scored us a pack of chips to share, so we were passing it back and forth. My hands were so numb I couldn't even feel the chips. I just stuffed them in my mouth. Do you believe in angels, Finn? That question caught me off guard. Charlie's gaze was glued to a little girl perfecting a snow angel in front of us. The answer was no. I didn't believe in God. Any gods. Any religion. If God existed, or the angels, my parents wouldn't have kicked me out for liking guys. In the earlier days, I prayed for help. I had the stupid idea that my mom would actually hunt me down and take me back home. But God didn't exist. At least not to me. And I was tired of pretending. I didn't respond to Charlie, and his head dropped onto my shoulder. I jerked back, swallowing a hiss. I shoved him away, and for the first time since I'd met him, his smile started to fade. Sorry, he muttered, rubbing his hands together. Charlie seemed to notice our proximity, shuffling away from me. He said I was warm, and I hated myself for shouting at him, because he was fucking warm too. I liked the feeling of his head on my shoulder. He felt safe and warm, and the closest thing I had to a home. I jumped off the wall, making an excuse to distance myself. I think I told him I was going to the shelter to try to find warm clothes from the lost and found. Charlie didn't reply, only jerking his head in a nod. He told me he'd be right there when I got back, and his words settled my twisting gut, the growing lump in my throat. I used my time away from him to come to terms with my feelings, and instead of pushing them away, like I had done for so long, suppressing and fucking swallowing them down, I realized I wanted Charlie to stay with me. Charlie was home. I had barely known this kid for a few months, and yet with him, I didn't feel cold anymore. I went back to the wall, ready to apologize to Charlie, but to my surprise, he was gone. I figured he'd gone searching for food since it was almost around dinner time, so I waited. I waited until the sky was dark, and I was so fucking cold, my bones ached. I noticed an old man who was playing chess with pigeons earlier. Charlie had pointed him out, laughing at one particular pigeon who seemed too self-aware. I hurried over to him. Did you see me earlier? I twisted around, pointing at the wall the two of us sat on. The man nodded. Oh, you're looking for your friend? He slid another chess piece across the board. I believe he walked away with a man a few hours ago now. What man? I felt like I was going to puke. I asked him to describe the guy, but the old man shrugged. I have bad eyes, kid. It was just a man. Late 40s, I think. His expression softened when my stomach crawled into my throat. Are you all right? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a sour candy, dropping it into my hand. You should go home now, kid. I'm sure your parents are worried about you. Again, I asked him to describe this man, this time through my teeth. But the old guy just turned back to his one-man chess game. I think part of me was in denial. I went back to our sleeping spot, expecting Charlie to be there, already comfortable in his sleeping bag, talking about optimistic BS. But he wasn't. I ran back to the shelter with his name choked in my mouth. I was living my own personal nightmare. Being snatched into the night and nobody even knowing my name. I just got weird looks, kids looking progressively more freaked out. I wouldn't accept it at first. Charlie could have been anywhere. But the longer I waited for him in all of our spots, it became clear that Charlie was just another missing street kid who was there 1 minute and gone the next. He was another Ben, another Carly. But this time I made the mistake of getting to know him. He was more than a name. Charlie was my friend. I asked strangers if they'd seen him. Passers-by looked me up and down like I was dirt on their shoe. These people had places to be. They didn't care about some faceless kid disappearing from the street. I already knew what they were thinking when they offered pitiful smiles and said things like, sorry, I don't know. I can't help you, kid. I'm sure he's out there somewhere. They were wondering why. Charlie was sleeping rough in the first place. Why he didn't just get help. I'm going to tell you the hardest thing I've come to realize. It's easy to be numb on the streets. Easy to shut down. Easy to forget to mourn because it was too fucking cold. I didn't forget about Charlie, but I did bury him so I wouldn't forget how to survive. So a month later, I thought I was fucking hallucinating when I saw that all too familiar jacket. The one I told him multiple times to keep out of sight. It was snowing again, and it was thick and wet, clinging to my jeans. I was trying to find a patch of concrete free of snow to dump my sleeping bag. I scored hand warmers from one kid who was nice enough to offer them for a DS I'd found. There he was. Somehow. Charlie was standing in the middle of an empty road in dead of night. I didn't question why or how. I just hugged him, mentally promising myself I would never let him go again. Charlie was so warm. His coat was thicker, and his backpack was nowhere to be seen. Where did you go? I demanded, shoving him back. Charlie just smiled, and I noticed his pocket, an iPhone sticking out. I think I was about to laugh, wondering just how he'd managed to get an iPhone, when a clammy hand suddenly clamped over my mouth. Warm arms wrapped around my torso and yanked me back. I screamed, but my cries were muffled. The hand clamping tighter until I couldn't fucking breathe. I remember being violently dragged back, my feet stumbling, my body struggling to stay upright. I was dragged halfway down the street, hoisted onto a stranger's shoulders, and dumped into the back of an awaiting van. It didn't feel like it was happening to me. All those nights I had nightmares about being the next kid snatched away. I never thought it would be me. I couldn't even cry out. My body felt paralyzed. I was dragged backwards through snow, and then I was on my knees on the ice-cold flooring of a van, jerking left to right, staring at shutters being pulled down like I was an animal. I dived forward, but I was trapped. I'm sorry, Finn. Charlie's voice pricked the silence. The back of the van was so cold, and the smell was already there. Potent, a thick, rotting decay. But you're the perfect body and shape for my father, he said, his voice deadpan and wrong. I hope this doesn't change things between us, he whispered. His voice was different, taunting and cold, sending shivers down my spine. We're still friends, right? I fucking screamed at him. That bastard. He played the role so well, I should have fucking applauded him. I slammed my fist into the shutters, but the ignition came to life, and the van jerked forward, sending me stumbling back. I dropped to my knees, choking on the stink of decay. I didn't want to look. The light was too bright, too invasive, scorching the chill from my skin. I stayed on my knees until the smell got so bad, I had to fucking look. In front of me were bodies. Most of them were faceless, with no features, skin already crumbling from bones jutting out. One of them caught my eye, lying at the bottom of the pile. Ben. His skin was gray, dried blood staining his face, painting his clothes. I was already trying to roll him onto his front, so I didn't have to look at him. His eyes were open, like he was still alive. I shoved him onto his stomach, and something sour crawled up my throat, my stomach revolting.